Okay, and now we're going to move on to the last costume I made, and probably the costume I'm most proud of. I debuted her for IndieK 2011, and this is a really fancy costume. Like, there's just so many different elements. So this is kind of like the top, and it's a kimono top with these little X's on it. And I made this entirely myself. It's again no tags. No tags. No tags. And I just like how this like top turned out, because it turned out like the right like kind of poofiness that I wanted, and it tucks into the skirt really nicely, so it kind of like completely disappears. And it's just like it turned out the way I wanted it to. Like this entire costume turned out completely the way I wanted it to. So it's Ookami Kakushi, Kushinada Nemuru, and Ookami Kakushi is a really unpopular anime that nobody really knows about, so nobody like knows the costume, but everybody's like, well, that's a really cool costume. And it's just kind of like, that was like my favorite anime over the summer. I like fell in love with it, and it's a horror anime, and I kind of been hardcore crazy over horror anime lately, so this is just like the top. And then we have all of the other little, this is the little thing. We made her headdress, which is really cool. It has like little ears in it and all kinds of stuff dangling off of it. And the ears have the same like fabric as the skirt, and it's just kind of like floppy kind of ears hanging off like little bunnies. And it floats down my back and matches nicely with the cape. This costume, well, the headdress I have a few complaints about. It floats up in the top, so like if I'm wearing it, like if there's a gust of wind before a picture, it's like, and it looks all silly and ridiculous, which is kind of like a really big fault of the costume, and I haven't quite figured out how to fix that yet. I'm sure I will, though, before I take it out again and do another photo shoot. But that's the headdress. And then we have the bow, which goes around her waist, which most people I've seen, they just like tied a knot in it, and we actually pressed the bow and sewed it up so it would stay like this, because it looks a lot better that way. And then her tail that goes in the back, and it's like not very long, but it's like, I really don't care. It's the anime. It's most of my costumes are my own interpretation of the anime's sort of, like, I make the costume a realistic sort of thing. Like, this can happen in real life, and I didn't have enough fabric or want to buy more fabric. Oh, there it goes. To make the tail as long as it is in the anime, and it's like down to her feet, and my cape covers up the entire back anyways, so I was like, I really don't want to do that. I'm really like proud of the bow, because the bow kind of makes or breaks the costume, this one, because it's like sits perfectly and it doesn't flap down, and it's just like nicely done and not all wrinkled and crooked either. It's perfectly straight, and it's nice, and just button it on. It's not gonna move. It's not gonna like undo, and there goes my pants. No. So that's that. And then the boot covers, which actually don't show up in most of the pictures I have of the costume, but they have the little pleats inside of there too, and they're absolutely adorable, and they have the little X's, and that was quite an adventure in figuring out making the elastic tight enough in the top, and just making sure that they all stay up as I walk was kind of like an adventure within itself. But I like how they turned out, and most of this costume actually doesn't need to be ironed, which is really nice. Oh, there's another thread. There's threads everywhere going off of all of my costumes, in case you haven't noticed. But yeah, I like the way the boot covers turned out. I'm very proud of them. And then this is kind of like the thing that wraps around her waist. Let me get it off real fast and kind of demonstrate, because otherwise you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. It just kind of goes up, and made sure that it like went out on the sides enough so you could see the skirt underneath. And this is another thing that kind of makes or break the costume, because I just button it and it stays up. It doesn't flop down. It's like nice and straight and smooth. And this was quite a process to figure out how to make it. Let me tell you, it took 4 or 5 tries, and we finally just kind of like got it to a point where we were happy with it, and we were like, we're done. And we actually ran out of fabric, so this one panel in the back is actually a different fabric color than the rest, but you can't really tell. And that's just kind of how that turned out, which I'm proud of that because it took 5 or 6 tries, and it didn't end up getting destroyed, and we figured out how to make it. And once again, it's another one of those things that really makes or breaks the costume. I'm gonna have to put a few pictures of the actual costume in this video because it's such an unknown person that everybody's sitting here is probably like, huh, what the hell is this woman talking about? Because the anime has 12 episodes and it just came out in Japan, and kind of stumbled upon it on accident, and I was very happy I did because I love her. And then we have a skirt, which I actually made it a little longer than it is in the anime because I'm really conservative and I really didn't want everybody to see all of my legs. So yeah, and this fabric is a bitch to work with, let me tell you. It like frays like crazy. But the pleats turned out marvelous, and they stay, and we put stitches in them so they actually will stay pleated. They're not gonna, I don't have to iron the pleats into it, and the pleats aren't gonna fall out. Same with the boot covers, they're just like, they're sewn in, so they're gonna stay. And I really liked, because in the anime she has like butterfly sort of red fabric on hers, and I decided to do red with black cherry blossoms to give it kind of a more mystique sort of look. Mysterious, dark, sultry sort of thing, because it is a horror anime, and I decided, I kind of like, once again, my own sort of interpretation of the costume, I guess you could call it. So I just kind of was like, I don't want little flower girly things, I want black cherry blossoms. And then the cape, which actually is the biggest part of the costume because it's so long and big, and mine's lined red even though in the anime it's not lined, but shh, that's okay. And we tacked down the top, and it just kind of like goes around perfectly, and it's this huge cape. It's so heavy, like industrial strength, and it just like flows really nicely, and in the pictures it looks marvelous. And I'm never going to iron it because that would take 3 hours because of just how much fabric it is. Like, it doesn't even, I can't even show you how much fabric it is because my camera probably won't see it. And then her wig is probably my favorite part of the costume. Because I have this thing for white hair. I don't know why I always fall in love with the characters with white hair, and this so long white hair. It's so soft and pretty. And then it has like this like straight cut bangs and these little like half pieces that hang up kind of right there. And I just love the way it looks. I've never had like straight across the top bangs, and these are kind of like straight across the top but a little like frayed, so they look a little more natural and not like just block bangs. Which I have to credit to my cosplay friend Kaho, because she's really good at cutting wigs and I'm not. I'm like terrified of cutting my own wigs. So I just like am really proud of how this like turned out, because it's such a long costume process to make this. And I also have props for her too, which actually makes kind of posing for pictures and stuff really easy. I made a mask, which is really creepy. Oh, my thing is beeping at me. And I painted the mask. It was all black, and it took forever to get this really dark, like opaque sort of black. Shut up! And then the big prop that I made, that hopefully I will be able to get all the way in. And this prop took ages to make. I like braided the rope around here, found the bells. Thank goodness there's like Christmas decorations out already in the middle of September. And then we made the little squares that go match with the headdress and the little ribbons. And then I took styrofoam, like a circle styrofoam thing, and I like sandpapered the edges and painted it. And it actually survived con a lot more than I thought it would. And then my dad like drew a hole into it and connected it to this, and I bought the base and then I painted it. And unfortunately the paint is chipping off all over the place, which makes me really upset. But I also hand painted on all of the symbols on both sides. And thankfully, really none of the black paint is chipping off. There's dust all over it though. But most of the paint is just like chipping, and I really just need, once I do if I plan on doing a photo shoot with her anytime soon and want to actually have the weapon in it, I really just need to give this a nice fresh coat and fix it up a bit, because towards the end of convention it was like the day it was like spinning at the top, so I put glue in it and it's kind of, I don't know, it's probably going to cut it off, but it's like kind of bent awkwardly, like it's, there you go. You can see how the thing is straight and then it's kind of curved, so I really just need to like figure out a way to remove all the hot glue in that and fix it, because I was like posing all awesomely and then it like spun. It was all derpy and retarded towards the end of the thing. But that's my biggest costume, and I'm really just happy about how it turned out, because I love the character, I love the anime, even though it's like nobody knows what it is. But I kind of like, I have this like strange weird obsession with really unpopular animes, so finding it was like really easy for me, and then like actually putting the effort into making a costume that actually nobody would really know about was kind of fun. And it was a secret costume, because after the fiasco with Alan at Wasabi, I was like, I don't really feel like telling anybody what I'm going to do, because then they'll join me and it will mess up this costume that I worked really hard on. So it just kind of like was a completely secret. Nobody, even when I got there, nobody knew who it was. I got one recognition out of everybody at NDK. So you know just how unpopular it is. But I really like unpopular anime, so it's just kind of like, it was destined to be. And I'm going to make a few more different versions of her costume, and I'm actually wearing her wig to NDK New Year's Eve, so it's going to be kind of like a New Year's Eve fancy thing. My dress is over here, but kind of want to keep it a little more under wraps, so you probably can't see it very well in the video, and it's going to stay that way. So that's that costume. And that's all of the costumes I have, actually, right now. Besides a few like casual versions of a few different costumes, and I have a gray wig that I used for Vocaloid, but I really don't like Vocaloids very much, so I think I'm going to take that wig, give it bangs, and make it a different character when I get around to it. So that's kind of all of my costumes, and that's like their own little, just like product focus on my costumes. So I hope you like them, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.